Hello there, thanks a lot for coming by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard, and boy do I have music history in my hands from, what, the entertainer of the century? Okay, maybe it was Elvis or the Beatles, but certainly one of the three entertainers of the 20th century, Francis Albert Sinatra. Boy, look at this. That's, okay, sure, it's plain and it's black and white, but boy is it what it represents, and I like its understatedness. I really like its simplicity. It's just, look at that, Frank Sinatra. It just, you know, with, of course, the LA Philharmonic Orchestra, not some little nightclub or something. So just a great, wonderfully early and historic poster that's sort of, you know, belied by its understated simplicity. And here we have Sinatra breaking free as a solo artist during World War II. So, you know, how much more historical can you get than that? He went on to influence pop culture and music for decades afterwards. And the Bobby Soxer craze was in full swing at this point. Frank had charted almost 40 records with Tommy Dorsey. Can you believe that? In the early 40s. And then that included 4 #1 records with Dorsey, by the way. So he was certainly known as the lead vocalist for the Tommy Dorsey Big Band. But the previous December, 1942 December, Frank he made his solo debut, I should say, at the New York's Paramount Theater, and thus the Bobby Soxer craze was born. Fantastic reception. Move ahead a few months to the spring of '43, and Frank had a #1 single with All or Nothing at All on Billboard's charts, even though it was not a new recording. And then the summer of '43, he did this weird thing. He embarked on to do some shows with large symphony orchestras, and it was a controversial move. But Sinatra's, you know, always been his own man, and that's one of the reasons we love him, and he had such a huge career, as he took chances and took risks. So in July, he played with Cleveland. I don't know if it was the Cleveland Philharmonic Orchestra exactly, but he did it with a big orc in Cleveland. And then earlier in August, he did it with the New York Philharmonic. And yes, negative publicity accompanied these dates. I mean, here he was considered a pop singer very much, hanging out and performing with, you know, this highbrow, hallowed musicians of the classical world. So it was, you know, it was a daring move, but he garnered fans everywhere he went, and it tended to be the old-timers and the classical purists who really didn't like it and made all the noise. And yes, that reaction was the same right here in Hollywood, liberal as California is. But the Hollywood Bowl was, by most accounts, a bit strapped for cash. And so they went ahead and booked Sinatra. And as you can see, the poster explains it. You'll have to excuse the clothing pins, by the way. They kind of just hold it in place. It is a fragile piece, being so old, again from World War II. One night only, Saturday, August 14th, 9 p.m., Frank Sinatra, and again that small print down there with the LA Philharmonic Orchestra. And it's kind of fun, in fact, to see this poster in use. Here's a picture taken backstage that night before the show, Sinatra hanging with his pianist, and look at that, you can see 4 of these posters just hanging around. Isn't that a hoot? I think that's just a kick. That's really fun. That's just amazing. I think that was actually published in the Hollywood Reporter, that particular photo. So, and then, speaking of backstage, there's a couple of pictures, whoops, of here's Sinatra, exactly what he looked like, because his photo's not on the poster. There he was with the orchestra conductor, Frank looking light, young, carefree, and handsome, and the orchestra conductor definitely looking of the old school, not too thrilled. And then there's Frank just warming up his voice backstage before the gig. Isn't that nice to have these photo accompaniments? That's so much fun. And I'd like to thank the Los Angeles Times, actually, for those photographs. That's where they originated from. The LA Times really covered this because, again, it was a controversial happening, but it was also just a big pop music happening as well. So it's a rather unusual feature of this poster, the way it says one night only, Saturday, August 14th with a time, and then below the Hollywood Bowl they repeat that. One night only, Saturday, August 14th with a time. That's an unusual design element. I've always gotten sort of a kick out of that. And then you get down to the fine print, which I will zero in on here for you. And you can see it says there, can you believe that? General admission, 75 cents. That's probably about a penny per musician or something, I don't know. And then reserved seats, $1.10, $1.65, and $2.20, tax included. And notice then there's a phone number and a Southern California Music Company with an address and a phone, and then it says at all mutual agencies, the mutual ticket agencies being a Southland institution for decades back then. So the concert starts, there's a lot of reportage on it. You know, the orchestra comes out and does a few things themselves. And then Frank comes out and does, by the best account I could find, 9 songs. There's some reports he did only 6 songs. But, you know, come on, 6 songs, people make their way to the Hollywood Bowl. I'm sure he did 9 songs in about 30 or 40 minutes is what it covered. And that included things that we know to this day, like Night and Day, You'll Never Know, Old Man River from Showboat, and it's funny, Sinatra actually makes a crack like, I'm going to do this not as well as Paul Robeson yet. He says, I'm not in his class yet. So, you know, and then Frank concludes the evening with All or Nothing at All. So, as a matter of fact, I have a picture of him performing, again, thanks to the Los Angeles Times, and here he is on stage, belting them out. And it just looks, look at that, you know, the orchestra conductor's on this, looks like a wooden box or something. Everything was so simple back then, you know, but that's Frank actually performing at this show. So it's really nice when you can do this. The show was recorded, by the way. I guess it was such a big event, it'd be surprising if it wasn't. And afterwards, there were sets of 78 RPM acetates made of the show. And so as a result, the Hollywood Bowl itself has a little museum exhibit inside the offices, and it's open to the public. You can go in and they have that audio recording to be listened to. They have some photographs, perhaps these, and they even have the microphone that Frank used on stage that night. That'd be kind of fun to take your picture with, wouldn't it? So, and finally, a very unusual poster printer that frankly I'd never heard of before. You can see it sort of down at the bottom after the printer's bug there. I doubt if you can make it out though, but it's the Ailes or Alley's printing company on 4th Street in Los Angeles. That's spelled A-L-L-E-S. So I expected this to be a Colby, a famous Los Angeles poster printer that did a lot of boxing styles, but instead it's the Alley's printing company, just in case you're curious. Boy, old Blue Eyes, I'll tell you, he wasn't back, he was starting. His debut at the Hollywood Bowl, he would play there several more times, but this was it. This was the debut, and what a, you know, World War II, what a, you know, and the paper drives of World War II, most of these things were just like ground into paper and helping out the country and everything, so it's great to find this, and hope you enjoyed seeing it. From Frank Sinatra to the acid tests, it's so much fun doing all the cool concert posters in music history. So thanks for coming by, take care, we'll see you next time, bye bye.